Hey guys, it's your girl Boonie, and you're listening to episode 127 of the Boonie Breakdown podcast, your source for all things responsible and ratchet. All right, welcome to this week's episode, guys. This is a fun one. There are no really guests per se, but in this episode, we're talking about dating and dating apps in particular. Okay, so I did like an all call over on Instagram and Twitter and got some various clips from various listeners, some not listeners, some Twitter followers about their personal experiences on Tinder, Bumble, Match, Plenty of Fish, Coffee Meets Bagel, whatever the fuck these things are. So we're going to talk about some of their wins, some of the gripes they hate about these apps. And they even share some tips that they've picked up along the way. Now, if you stick around in this episode, there is a very great story at the end of the episode where one person in particular shared one of, I don't know if it's a horror story, a cautionary tale, but if you want a good laugh, stick around for that. All right, this week's Boonie pick of the week, it's going to be like a story time with Boonie, but like a story time through me. And I want to shout out those of you who feel comfortable enough to share things with me, and we develop a rapport. And I was just out right before I'm putting this episode. I was out having a drink with some sorors, so happy Sisterhood Month to the women of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And someone came up to me afterwards and was just like, oh my God, I wanted to share this with you, but I didn't want people to judge me, but I feel like you could appreciate this story. And so she was saying how she recently purchased, this is one of this is a great story. Like the fact that she felt comfortable sharing this and wanted to share this with me is what I love even more. But she recently purchased a vibrator for her 86-year-old grandmother. And her grandmother is battling dementia, but she says she's a very sexual person. And she kept saying and they're very close. And she was like, I want a vibrator. So she went looking and she found a vibrator, that had some that wouldn't put tension on her wrist. And I'm immediately like, oh my God, it's like Grace and Frankie, how they started their vibrator company for older women. And she's like, yeah, it's exactly like that. So she finds this vibrator for her grandmother. And she's like, all is well. She's like, and her grandmother lives down in Atlanta. And so she's like, she gets a phone call from her grandmother. Her grandmother is very upset because after she did the kind move and got her grandmother the perfect toy, her grandmother calls her upset because the batteries inside the vibrator are gone. And it turns out that this person, her son, took the batteries out of her vibrator to put them in the remote. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why would a grown ass man go into his mother's space? Wherever you keep, I know where I keep my vibrators and things, and then proceed to touch it, take the batteries out of the vibrator, put it back, and then go put those batteries in the remote. It was nothing else in the house, nothing else in the space where you could find batteries for the remote, yet alone go into the Walgreens. This is your mother's one source of pleasure right now. This is all she's wanted, and you had to go ruin it for her. And I thought this story was amazing. First of all, I love their relationship, that she felt comfortable enough, like, you know what, I'm just going to honor my granny's request, and I'm going to get her a fucking vibrator, and I'm going to be thoughtful enough about it to get her a vibrator that works for her, so that it would not give her more pain. We want this to be a pleasurable experience. 2, I love that as an 80-something-year-old woman, she's still worried about pleasure and masturbating, because masturbation is love, right? And 3, just the fucking audacity of men. That has been the theme of my weekend. Men are some very audacious motherfuckers. But the audacity of you to go and take away your elderly mother's batteries out of her vibrator, that's some fuckboy shit. But what a great story. And so because I had it, I was like, you know what, girl, I'm letting you know it's going to be on my podcast because this is some funny ass shit. But what a great story. So that was my Boonie pick of the week. All right, so let's get into this housekeeping. The feedback from episode 126 with Poised Finance Lifestyle. You guys loved all of the great tips that she offered. I appreciated. I really, really, really appreciated some of the tips, the feedback. I know it was some things that I know I wanted to implement. I was definitely looking forward or looking how I could try to do moving forward the high five banking method. A lot of you tagged me in conversations. You appreciated me bringing someone on who was willing to speak about money. And how it's such a taboo topic. Shout out to Chelsea's Travels, who then continued the conversation over on her Instagram and asking people why don't they feel comfortable talking about money. We talk about so many other things. And I feel like the topic of money is just as, if not more, taboo than talking about sex. So I'm glad you guys were able to take some good things away from it. And hopefully we'll all continue to be on the path to getting our money right in 2020. All right. I also this weekend, some kind of random but exciting news for me. The podcast charted over in Poland. So shout out to the listeners over in Poland. Hey, thank you for listening. I hope you stick around. It is interesting when I see these hotbeds. I know last week I talked about Australia. This week it's Poland, and we were in the top 15. I think we were ranked number 15 in the relationships category. So it was the first time charting over there. So thank you. Keep spreading the word because that is how we continue to grow. I can only do so much, but like I always say, when you guys do it, it helps me even more. And easy way you can do that. You can leave a 5-star review on our Facebook page, or you can also leave a 5-star review in the Apple Podcast app if you listen on any Apple device. And we just got a new podcast from Lee2178. So relevant and relatable. I literally fell asleep listening to Boonie last night. I woke up several times throughout the night, and each time I did, it was always a positive message playing. Keep up the great work. So thank you to Lee2178 for that 5-star review. You can go ahead and join her. All we need is 5 stars. It's so easy. And you can just type something so quick. It's so easy to do. So please feel free. We welcome those great 5-star reviews. Also, follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on Facebook at The Boonie Breakdown. And you can follow us over on Twitter just at Boonie Breakdown. Love it when you share it in your Insta stories, when you DM me some feedback, when you post it on Twitter, you post it on Facebook, and you tag us in it. Love all of these ways to interact with you guys. It is wonderful. And of course, when you share it in the Insta stories and your page is open, I will reshare it just to show my great appreciation for that. Also, when you're sharing it, just use the hashtag The Boonie Breakdown, the hashtag PODIN, PODIN. So that is it for me. And we're going to dive into some of these great dating app stories. All right, so let's get ready to break it down. All right, guys, so this episode I put out an all call because I'm not that experienced in dating apps. Brian always comes on, and I think in his last appearance on the episode, in episode 123, he made the reference like, yeah, I'm on 2 dating apps, Facebook and Instagram. And so I have had some success from sliding in the DMs on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. But I've never really formally done like dating apps. And so I'm going to have to talk about this with Shika when she comes on in an episode in a couple weeks. But, she was like, just try it out. Try it out for 30 days. And so I set up a Bumble profile because I just knew I didn't want to do Tinder. And I also set up a Hinge. Not immediately. I think I saw someone on Instagram said they met their boo on Hinge, and I didn't know about Hinge. So I was like, I'll give it a try. And I will say I'm not fond of dating apps, and it's probably not for the reasons that you might think, but I am not fond of it because I don't like the rhythm of the dating apps. And I really do feel like a lot of people out here, at least some of the ones I was truly connecting with, have really, really poor communication skills. And so the rhythm of it is off. Like, okay, I'm going to send you a message, and then 6 hours later, 24 hours later, you send a message back, and it's not even a meaty response. It's just like, hey, okay, thanks. You too. Like, it's nothing to dig deeper to want to me engage further. And so for that, I don't like the rhythm of dating apps. And so, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll try it again. But I took them off of my phone after my 30 days. But I just felt like, I'm not that well versed in them. And so I have this huge community. Shout out to the Ratcheteers. And I just feel like you guys send me stuff in my DMs all the time. All the time you share stories. And I'm like, you know what? We haven't done an episode where I hear your voices in a while. And so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to kick it off with 2 kind of quick antidotes before we move into some of the dating wins. I always like to start with the positive. So, all right, let's hear what Miss Raquel has to say.
My name is Raquel. I'm 34 and I live in Chicago, and I will be talking about my experience with the online dating app Tinder. So I would advise anyone prior to going into it to just have an open mind, be open to whatever possibilities are out there. Don't look at it as a sign of desperation or like it's something wrong with you, because it's none of those things. Online dating is a place where you could meet the love of your life. You could meet a fucking weirdo. You could meet a sex-crazed demon. You could meet a combination of all 3. But just go into it with an open mind. Just expect the unexpected. I won't say my most horrific experience with Tinder, but it is my most interesting experience. I found myself in a 3-day dom submissive relationship with this guy. I was the dom, and he wanted me to basically humiliate him. And I drew the line when he asked me to use him as my personal toilet. And I said, that's not the work of the Lord. I don't believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross for us to be defecating on one another. And I told him to find himself a good church home, a therapist, and a hug from a big-breasted Black woman, because I couldn't do that shit for him. My greatest experience with online dating, I met my current lover on there. We've been together for, we just made a year on New Year's Day, but we actually met on there, going on 3 years ago. He is my greatest manifestation to date. He's everything I never knew that I needed. He is my best friend. He's just amazing. And this is the happiest I've ever been with someone. My healthiest, most beautiful relationship. And I don't think that I would have that had I not explored the possibilities of online dating and just, took a chance and just said, what's out there, and just gone after it. So yeah, that is my experience with Tinder.
That is wonderful. Shout out to Raquel. That is wonderful that you're in your most loving and honest and open relationship right now. But we got to go jump back to what you said about the nigga wanting you to defecate on him. My God, if a nigga said that to me, I'm at a loss for words. After 3 days, I know it was a sub-dom situation, but my God, like, what a story. That is a story. And I'm thankful that you shared that with us, because I might have been like, could I shit on somebody? I don't know. I don't think I could either. I don't think I could. I don't know. But let's now go into Derek's interactions and lessons with dating apps.
This is Derek, 39, from Baltimore. Use Hinge. One major tip that I would share with someone new to dating apps: make sure you are very transparent in what you are looking for. It's a good thing just to be, open and kind of just put yourself out there, not being very vague or just very closed off and not like that. You might come through some knuckleheads or whatnot, but it's good to just weed out the bad ones to find that good one. Biggest gripes, just how conversations just falls off after a while. Like 1 minute everything will be good. The next thing you know, thumbs down the drain. Things don't really progress as you would hope they would.
So in that clip, I think Derek pointed out two really good things that I like. I already talked about I don't like the ebb and flow and the rhythm of the dating apps, and I agree. I connected with some great people, and because I am who I am, and I don't like to be in those apps long, I very quickly give my phone number to people. Like, hit me, text me, call me, whatever. Just hit me up outside of that app, because I'm more likely to respond quicker, because I want to get the rhythm up. I want to know, are you worth my time? Do we want to go out? Do we want to meet up for a coffee? And so I agree. I did that, connected with people, and then I just realized, like, oh my God, these two guys, we were talking for a lot, and then nothing. Like, and even on my part, I never reached out to them, and they didn't reach out to me, and I don't feel any way about it. But that shit just dead it. Like, I don't even know if they're still alive. That's how hard, like, it was just like a very hard stop. And so, yeah, I don't really care for the rhythm of the conversations. But I will also agree with him about being very intentional and transparent about what you want. If you just on here to fuck, just say that, because you'd be surprised how many people are just like, sure, me too. Or nope, I'm not. Don't take people's choices away. And people don't not have time to waste. Like, tomorrow is not promised. So don't be up here wasting my time, and we're dating and stuff, and you just trying to fuck me, and then that's it. And then people who want relationships, it's the same thing. If that's what you want, or someone's just trying to get to know people, not really looking for a long-term relationship, they're just looking for companionship. I just feel like everyone has to just be very clear. And I think the problem with that is that I'm finding is that people just don't know what the fuck they want. And so they don't know how to be clear because they don't know what they want. And so, yeah, Derek, I agree. And because I want to start with the positives, we're going to move into some people sent in some of their wins, the biggest wins that they've had from their encounters on these dating apps. And so we're going to go through. You might hear a familiar voice in this next series. But let's see what wins people have had out there.
My biggest win on dating apps is fairly recent. I have had a horrible time with dating apps, but I met someone that works, I guess, it's been going on for a little bit now, but yeah, it kind of worked out the way that I have always wanted it to. There's an understanding we have about each other, and it's still fairly new, but I did not see it coming. I did not expect it. And it kind of goes with being intentional, because the moment I was kind of put some intention behind my profile, based on advice that was given to me from my therapist. I met someone matched with someone like the next day. Maybe after a week or so, we went on a date, and then we just been dating since. So, yeah, again, it's a struggle before, it takes some work to get to it, but I can say that it's finally worked for me.
35 male in the Washington, D.C. area. I don't know if I've had any major wins. I think there was a couple dates where I felt like there were connections, but for whatever reason it didn't materialize. But I think it was a couple of the dates were just good experiences. I don't think there's been any really wins, because I'm still using them. But I don't think there's been anything really bad about them either. I think it really is what you make it. But we'll keep shooting, and as they say, keep shooting your shot till you make one that matters.
So far I haven't had any biggest wins that I think are biggest wins. There's one guy that I am talking to, like, he's cool. He's real cool, and I will say the responsible and ratchet part of me has definitely had some good relations with him. Probably some of the best that I've ever had. but I don't know how far this will go. So I guess that would be a big win.
Listen, sis, I'm with you. I feel like my biggest win from Bumble, I'm pretty much having some really bomb sex. So I'm with you. I'm not sure how far this will go, but the sex is bomb as fuck. And to your point too, it's up there. It might be some of the best I ever had. So yes, that is a win. It counts. It qualifies. Don't discount it. And I'm not even gonna go into Sheikah because y'all know her voice, and we just gonna get into her shit because she really slid that in there. She got a match. It's good. So we'll dig in her shit later when she's on another episode. And I think the young man from Washington D.C., I kind of agree. You got to keep shooting your shot. So, I like that he still has a positive attitude in all of this. And now we got to go into the gripes. Like, I've already said some. We've heard some from the gentleman earlier. So let's get into a few more of people's gripes about using these dating apps.
Girl, let me tell you about this man I matched with on Tinder. His profile said he was 40. Some of his pictures looked a little bit older, but some of them looked like, okay, you could be a good-looking 40-year-old man. And one of the pictures he had on nurse scrub, so I assumed he was in the medical industry. So we're talking. He seemed pretty normal, so I gave him my Google Voice number, and he hit me up kind of late one night, and we're just having a conversation, like, what do you do for a living? And he tried to tell me that he is a stripper. So I'm like, okay, you're a third shift male stripper in Maryland. Like, where do you go to see a male stripper on a fucking Tuesday night at 2 a.m.? I'm like, okay, this man is lying. But I entertained it for a little bit because he's like really sticking to this story. So I'm like, what's your stripper name? And he's like 911. And I'm like, okay, prove it. Like, send me something to prove that you're really a stripper, and I'll stop asking questions about it. So I'm thinking he's going to send me like an Instagram or Facebook or a video or a picture of him in his construction worker outfit with some Timbs and a dick sling on, a hard hat. No. Of course, he sends me an unsolicited dick pic. And truth be told, it was a pretty decent dick. I mean, it was a little ashy, but it had nice girth and length to it. But anyway, so I entertained him for like another couple of days. He wanted to meet up, and I'm like, nah, this just don't feel right in my soul. So I told him no, and I was traveling, and I was flying to the West Coast, and as soon as I landed, I opened up my phone, and the first thing that came through was a picture from him. So I go open it. This time it's of a face, and I died laughing. I was like, is this nigga's fucking daddy? Like, all of a sudden, this man looks like somebody's pop-pop. Like, he has all of this gray in his beard. His hair is a little bit thinner. He's heavier. His nose is widespread. And I'm like, oh, this nigga tried to catfish me. He is like 10 to 15 years older than all of his pics. It was just ridiculous. I'm 34 and I live in the DC area.
One gripe I do have is that too many group pictures. Because you look at a picture and you'll see one woman and you think she's attractive, then you'll swipe and you'll see her you'll see the same group in another set of pictures, and you're not sure who is the one you're supposed to be swiping right on or interacting with. So I think that's the hardest thing. A lot less group pictures, I think, is a gripe I have. I haven't really had any true like horror stories. I would say certain apps women are less likely to respond on, I've found, like OkCupid, but and I think Match, a lot of it is you just kind of got to toss your net out there a bunch of times and hope something sticks. I try to be genuine, but it doesn't always seem to work.
Some of my gripes with dating apps is that one, there's not enough for Black people. There's I mean, and I get it. There's a lot of, like, white people are the more populated of the world, but like, sometimes certain apps or maybe apps that, require a little bit more, there's a surplus of white and not enough Black men. Um, One horror story is that I met up with someone and he did not have his lens in his like personality glasses,
it really threw me off, in which I looked back and forth at him at least 3 or 4 times before I made a decision to ask, because I couldn't let the date go on without knowing why the fuck have you decided to show up like this. When I asked, he was like, oh, yeah, he seemed like it was something he liked to do. It throws people off. And I was like, okay, whatever. I continued. Long story short, he ended up asking me who taught me about beer. And I was like, fuck out of here because you're an idiot.
Listen, Linda, the young man in DC, his gripe burns my fucking guts up. Like, this is a dating profile, right? And so you want to increase your chances. All you have are a few words and pictures to get people to entice, to want to swipe right and connect with you, right? And so what burns my gears up is when you have a profile that's all fucking group pictures. Who the fuck am I talking to, okay? Am I talking to the ugly, fugly, fat one? Or am I talking to the skinny, doopy looking one? Or I'm talking to the fine chocolate one or the semi-cute? Like, which one of y'all niggas am I talking to? That burns me up. And so I would never, like, I was very particular in the pictures that I put. Like, I was like, okay, I don't want them all to be done up in makeup, because in real life, I'm not wearing makeup most of the time you see me. I don't want to be all dolled up, because that's not me. Most times you're going to see me in a t-shirt and jeans, most likely. And so I was very deliberate. Now, I damn sure did not put any group pictures up, because I don't know your taste. I don't know what you're dealing with. You might think my friend who's small and petite is cuter than me, right? Or you might think my friend who was tall and got more titties, more ass, more gut is cuter than I am. That might be your speed. I'm not trying to give you no more options, right? The numbers game is already fucked up out here. So why the fuck would I post group pictures on my fucking dating profile? I'm with you, sir, in DC. It burns me up. Also, to the stripper story, that shit is fucking funny. I haven't had anyone like catfish me with the switcheroo, but I've looked at profiles where men are like, I'm 35. No, my sir, you're 55. Like, you're not pulling one over on me. The dusty, fugly, I'm my grandpa, all that kind of shit. I am with you. I'm with you there. Like, it's 2020. We can't be catfishing motherfuckers no more. Like, I don't understand. And to Sheikah's point, the reason why I enjoyed Hinge a little bit more is I felt like it had more black men to choose from. I feel like Bumble is still very white. And not that I don't have anything against white men. I just want to date black men. And so that's my preference. And I would swipe left on 30 white men before I could get to a pool of like 5 black men. And so my thing is, I'm asking black men who are listening, who are single, like, are you guys not on dating apps because you don't have to be on dating apps, because you have plenty of fish to choose from in the sea? But I just feel like on some of these apps, it is just white men galore. And I'm like, good Lord, where the niggas at? Where the niggas at? And so as we're all trying to navigate through this space, a lot of people sent in some really good tips about how you can further improve your experience, and things that they kind of wish that other people would do to make the dating app experience better.
Yeah, a tip that I got from one of my friends about the dating apps, what she does is basically she'll look through, swipe, dedicate maybe an hour to swiping, and probably like on Wednesday, she'll spark a conversation with them. And then by Thursday, Friday, make some weekend plans. And that's one way just to get out with them. That's the tip she offered me. I didn't realize it was a real thing, because a guy actually, this white guy, he actually hit me up like on a Thursday. He was like, I hear this is the best time to make conversations because your women are making their weekend plans using the dating apps. And I'm like, okay. That's not me. My weekends are always busy, but I do intentionally try to make time for anybody that I am dating. So, I did say I wanted to date more, and I guess I just need to be intentional about doing that on Wednesdays. I don't know, Wednesday shopping, making date plans for the weekend. I don't know, but that's a tip that was given to me. Haven't used it yet because, again, I'm still trying not to feel overwhelmed with just the same old that I keep seeing on all the apps. It's like the same person I see on each one of the dating apps, which I'm sure they're probably saying the same thing about me, but it is what it is.
One major tip I would share with someone who is new to dating apps is to be very um, intentional with your profile. I was a victim of not putting anything in my profile, so it's kind of like you will match with people who really aren't specific either, so you never know what you can get. Even down to the pictures, there's like a science to it, and showing, yourself fully, but like not too much. Say exactly what you're looking for. Only swipe on people with similar interests outside of just physical attraction. It'll save you a lot of bullshit because it is definitely a lot of bullshit out there. So just be super intentional in your profile and in your swiping.
Okay, so I had to jump in before we go into the rest of the tips, and I will say the first tip we got about when to go on and swipe. I think that is a good one. That is something I didn't do. I would just haphazardly be going on there, but it makes sense to go on Wednesdays and Thursdays so you can kind of make weekend plans and schedule some things. I might try that if I re-download the apps. But I also will say I noticed the time of day. I picked up on that. Depends on the caliber, quality of the conversation. One time I was just aimlessly swiping after I got out the shower. It was getting ready to go to sleep. And I mean, it's kind of booty call hours, right? And so I swipe right. I send a message, the guy responds, and then I'm like, oh, I asked something. And literally he was like, okay, that's great. I want to see you. And I'm like, I don't even know your fucking name. And you're talking about you want to see me like right now in person? Are we doing FaceTime? Like that was just fucking weird. And so I'm like, okay, you want to beat your dick on FaceTime or you was trying to hook up. Like let's hook up now so we can fuck. And so, yeah, I did notice the time of day in which you swipe corresponds to the kind of message that you get in return. But I think the tip about the day of the week is good. And, Tashika's point, being intentional about your profile and swiping. I also hate, and this is a gripe, so I just hate profiles that are just pictures only because that really is just a physical attraction. And I fall victim to it sometimes like, oh, he's fine. I'm swiping right. But I really do enjoy people who put some type of verbiage, answers the prompts on their profiles because it looks like you thought about this. You're being intentional too. You're just not on here to hook up or see what you can do. And so, yeah, I kind of looking back at some of the profiles that I connected with, some of them had really funny or clever responses, and I tried to be witty and funny and my responses and also show my personality as much as you can through what they give you. So yeah, I agree with the intentionality there that Ashika referenced.
If you have friends, mutual friends or close friends that you're good with, I would actually say like your good girlfriends or guy friends, whomever, that you guys kind of, when you swipe on them, I would compare with them just to check to make sure that we're not going out on the dates with the same guy. I mean, even if we do, but just to make sure that it doesn't seem like it's anything more. Or have you went out with him? It could be even a matter of like, I went out with him. I'm not really into him, but he might be someone for you. So that's even a good tip. So it happens. We're all here on the dating apps trying something new and different.
Woo, okay. So I actually know this person in real life. And when they told me that tip, when I told them that I was joining up on Bumble, I thought that was genius because I know a handful of women personally close in my circle who are on these dating apps. And I felt like at any moment, that's a possibility that we could be talking to the same person or dating the same person. And you don't want to be getting serious with somebody and your friend swipe right and she's just fucking them. Like, how weird is that? And so, again, as great as the internet is and it serves as a great connector, it can also have those fallbacks where it just makes the world and these circles even smaller and overlap even more than we can imagine. And so when she said that, like, oh, you might just want to share a picture or share a name to make sure that you and your people aren't talking to the same person, that is wonderful. And because I am so amazing, I got a story coming up from a great listener about this very thing.
So about 4 or so years ago, my best friend and I decided to get into online dating. She joined Match and I joined Plenty of Fish. So about a month into our experience, she met this guy, and he was from Northern Virginia, I believe. He was around our age, which was 35, 36 at the time. And he looked pretty good on paper. So they went out, I think 2 or 3 times, maybe for about 3 weeks. And then, if I recall, his birthday was sometime around that time, and she sent him a birthday message. And I think he responded back, and then he ghosted her. So about a week or so later, the two of us were out to lunch, and I got a message on my app, and I looked down, and it was from him. And I said, hey, isn't this the guy you were dating, or the guy that you went out with a couple of times? And she said, oh, damn, that is him. What did he say? And so I opened up the message and I showed her. She said, wow, that's the same exact message that he sent me on Match. So I'm like, how do I respond to this? So I can't remember what I said first, but the two of us took a picture together and then we sent it to him. So he wrote back and he called me immature, told me I need to grow up. And then he sent my girlfriend a message who he hadn't talked to, who he ghosted, and he called her lame, he called her immature, and he was like really in his feelings. But I'm like, you ghosted her, so why all the feelings, sir?
Like, there's an example. So it's not an extreme case of, oh my God, I was fucking him, you were dating him. But do just sound real corny. Like, first of all, you have templated messages that you send out all the time. Like, I just feel like that's whack within itself. But the fact that he was just embarrassed that he got called out. But I love that they sent the picture. Like, motherfucker, we know each other. You whack, goodbye. So I do think that is a great tip to make sure you're checking with your circle to make sure there is no overlap, unless you want to be doing that kind of stuff, then that's more power to you. But I do think, like I said, the internet just makes the world so much smaller than it already is, and it is so plausible because, like, in that situation, 2 different apps, and I know I was using 2 different apps and using, I think, almost the same pictures on both. And so it would be so easy for that to happen because I'm sure people are not alone in just using one app. And in fact, we have a story, not a story, but we have a tip.
The one recommendation I would have is really don't be afraid to try different apps. Not all apps are the same and have the same, I don't want to say caliber of women you're looking to date, but everybody has different interests, and I think each app serves a different purpose. I've tried Bumble, been on Match. I've tried Tinder, tried OkCupid back in the day. Haven't used that in a while. It really is, each app is different. And I tried Plenty of Fish for a little while, but each app is different, and you got to figure out which one works for you. I think that's the biggest thing. Don't be afraid to ask your friends which ones they're using. I know no one likes to really talk about being on online dating, but it's the norm now. So I think that's a recommendation I would have.
Yeah, like I feel like has anyone done like a definitive ranking? I'm sure if I Google it, it has to be a definitive ranking of dating apps. And I've only tried two. I think I did Tinder like when it first popped off, and I was just like, I don't like this. And I think the thing, I didn't share this before, but I feel like overall the apps became a little overwhelming to me, and not in the sense that you might think like, oh, I was getting so many matches and so many dating, but it was just, it's very exhausting trying to connect with several different people at the same time in that way. It seemed like I was trying too hard. It wasn't just like we were out at the bar and I can laugh and just be myself. I just felt like I was trying too hard to be me, which was very weird. And the other thing that was overwhelming was just I would just constantly swipe left, which is what I'm saying, swiping, because I'm not attracted. I wasn't even scrolling up. I'm just like, oh, I don't like your face. I don't like your nose. Why is it a group picture? This selfie's whack. Why do men do this? Like, and so I was just like swipe left, and then I would see somebody like, oh, they were cute, and it was already I swiped left, and I'm not paying for this shit, so I never would. Like, I think I had ran out of reversals. So it just got very overwhelming. And I want to go circle back to one other point before we go into the culminating funny story. I felt like also on these dating apps, men take the most horrific pictures. If it's not a group picture, it's like a up the nose selfie. It is the closest selfie on earth where you can't even see its fucking ears. It's grainy. It's from 1979. It is a scanned picture, not a fucking selfie from a smartphone. It's an upshot. It's in your car. You post the same selfie. I hate it. I hate the people who got a floss. Oh, look at my Gucci belt and I'm leaning on the Mercedes. Oh, look at me sitting in front of a rented Lamborghini on South Beach. Like, the shit is whack. Whack. And I'm sure for some women it might work, but that shit just, like, everybody. Breathe, Adrian. Like, I was really just getting riled up. I just do not, like, I just feel like men, again, do the bare minimum, even on these apps. Like, you can't even upload a fucking decent ass picture. Jesus fucking Christ. So, yeah, I'm not going to go back into the gripes, but I hope you got some information from the tips. And you probably shared some of the same sentiments about the wins and the gripes. And now we're going to have a story. I did change the voice of this person to protect their innocence, their identity. It was their request. And so, yeah, we'll be back.
Okay, so I was going through a bit of a dry spell, and I matched with this guy on Tinder, and we were having a conversation. I had just got finished working out, and he was like, oh, what were you doing? And I'm like, I was doing push-ups or something. I don't know, something stupid. He was like, you should come over here and watch me do push-ups. And I'm like, this is just ridiculous, but I was just trying to fuck. So, like, in my mind, it was going to kind of go like one of those cheesy, like, porn, and you're like, oh, let me see you do some jumping jacks, some shit like that. So I go over there, and he lived like 20 minutes away at a townhouse. So I get there and I immediately walk in, and it's like, this is somebody's motherfucking mother's house. Like, they had like a china cabinet with all types of shit in it. And you know when you go to somebody's grandmother's house, like their counters always got like chips and shit piled up on it. It was mail on the table. I'm like, this is this nigga's fucking mother or grandmother's house. This is ridiculous. He tried to tell me it was a roommate. He was like, my roommate sleep. And then he was like, do you want to get high? And I'm like, okay. So he brought down like this bag that had like all of his weed stuff in it. And we went outside and he lit a candle. We were out there talking. And he seemed kind of braggadocious. He was like in tech, and he was telling me how he had like a startup, and he just got accepted to like business school, Wharton, and all this other shit. I'm like, okay, let me just get high enough so I can fuck this nigga. So we get high, and then he was like, oh, wait. And he packed up all his weed stuff, put it back in the bag, and then he sprayed everything down. I'm like, of course, you don't want your grandmother to come downstairs and smell it. So we go upstairs, and he was like, oh, my roommate's home, just be quiet. And I'm like, I'm not going to fuck this man and be quiet because his mother is here. So we walk into his room, and I stopped at the door. and it was like a desk and a dresser. I lied to you not. This should have been the red flag, but my dumb ass was high at this point and horny. Because he had like a really nice body. He was like sexy low key, but he was like a creeper. So he had, lied to you not, 2 fucking box springs. And then he had he had 3 mattresses piled up on the box spring. And then he had these burgundy satin sheets on the bed. And I was like, it was like the princess and the pea. And I was like, he actually had to help me up because I'm short. So I get on the bed and like before we went upstairs, I was just looking around the room and he was like, is something wrong? I was like, well, this just don't really look like the bedroom of a 33-year-old man. He was like, why not? I was like, you don't have any clothes in your closet. He had like a couple of shirts and a hat and some pants and like 2 pairs of shoes. I'm like, this just, he had like an old painting on it. It just didn't look normal at all. So anyway, he climbs up on the bed. I'm like, look, you can just hurry up and fuck him. You'll be good. So he was like, I told him I would give him a massage. So I give him a massage and he was like, ooh, can I roll over? It was like he was like 16 and never been fucked before. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like rubbing his chest now. And he he was like, go lower. So I go lower. And then I pulled out his dick and he had like he had a beautiful chocolatey dick with a little bit of like a you know, like a maybe like a 27-degree curve. It was actually it was majestic. And he was like, can you suck it? And I'm like, I didn't come over here to suck your dick. And he was like, I'm like, what am I going to get in return? He was like, I'll finger you. I said, nigga, let me tell you something. I did not get up out of my fucking bed, drive 20 minutes over here, get high with your ass so that I can suck your dick and get fingered. And I immediately jumped off the bed and was like, I gotta go. He was like, no, you can stay, it's okay. And I'm like, no, I gotta go. So I hurry up and grab my purse. I didn't bring my purse in. I hurried up and grabbed my keys and my phone and like literally ran down the steps and out the front door. He was like, no, leave. So I drove home and as I'm walking into my house, I'm like, Jesus, I promise you I will never do that dumb shit again. I'm like, he was like, in hindsight, he was the type to probably have like a camera hidden in the closet and all of his like World of Warcraft friends are sitting on the other end watching a live feed like, yay, Thomas is finally gonna get some. Woohoo! And he's gonna be like, smell my fingers. Like, it was that bad. Like, I was like, I won't do it again, Jesus, I promise. So I technically never did it again because I didn't come across any other weirdos, but man, Tinder's good for a good fuck though.
Okay, so that story is way funnier with the voice change. And I can't stop. Okay. I'm gonna get myself together. And I heard it before, but I think the voice change just made it so much funnier. Oh my God. First off, sis said it was 3 mattresses piled up on top of a box spring. Oh my God. And she still didn't leave. To the scientific measurement of the curve of his dick, the 27-degree curve. Okay, sis. Shout out to Meg the Stallion for only one of 2 good songs on her album, Captain Hook. Also, yes, I'm with you. A grown-ass man wants me to give him a blowjob, but he's only offering a fingering. Fuck you, my nigga. And I totally got the visual of a camera being in the closet, and it was a live stream with his Warcraft friends. That is fucking hilarious. And thank you for sharing. I think everyone appreciated this laugh on this wonderful wonderful, wonderful Monday morning. We now have daylight to 7 p.m. and we got a good laugh from sis who did a Tinder hookup. Oh my God. The last thing she said there, Tinder is good for a good fuck. So there you go. No one else really in their tips or stories talked about Tinder. I know I just mentioned that I used it briefly and I never really got back on it. But yeah. There you go. There you go. I hope you enjoyed that story. If you guys have any more funny stories, I would love to do a follow-up episode. If you have more tips, you have more gripes, you have more dating app wins, I would love to hear them. You can send them over in a voicemail like our friends in this episode did. I would like them to be, if you can separate them out. So if you have a gripe you want to share, that's one voice memo. If you have a win, that's another voice memo. If you have a funny story, that is a voice memo. I would like them to be 90 seconds or shorter. If it's a funny fucking story, you can go a little longer. All right. But you got to make it funny. You got to build it up. You got to put all the visuals and let us feel like we were there with you on that journey. Once you do that and record your voice memos, you can email them to the booniebreakdown@gmail.com. If there is something that you are embarrassed by, you don't want to be recognized for your story, then you just need to send me a message and say, hey, can you do what you did on that one and change up the vocals? That would be awesome. When you're recording, if you can just say your name, first name only, age, location, and what particular app you're using, that would be wonderful. But as we're moving into springtime, I feel like there might be some really good stories coming out of this shit. And so with that being said, please send some in. I would love to do a follow-up episode on this. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It was different. I have not done an episode like this with the voices of other people, listeners, followers in a while. And it was great. I love to break up, so it's just not my voice all the time. So send those in. We can do a part 2 to this episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to listen and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or any app that you listen to your favorite podcast on. Don't forget to leave those reviews too. 5 stars, 5 stars. You can hear your review on the next episode. Follow us on all social media. Share the episode with those you love, those you don't love, those you fucking hate. And don't make these pretty images for nothing, okay? Have a dope ass week. Thank you for listening. And remember, the ratchet in me always honors the motherfucking ratchet in you. Ho my stay. Until next time.